Have you ever noticed how your kindness often attracts the very darkness you try to avoid? Think about the last time you went out of your way to be the good person. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You stayed silent to keep the peace. You gave until you felt hollow. And what was the result? Did they value you more? Or did they just start treating your sacrifice like an obligation? It's a bitter realization. The softer you are, the more life seems to hit you. It's as if your warmth is being met with ice. But why? Why does the world read your kindness as an invitation to push you, use you, and eventually replace you? It's not because people are inherently evil. It's because of a psychological law we've been ignoring. Carl Jung believed that every gentle soul who refuses to acknowledge their own strength carries a dangerous shadow. And if you don't know that shadow exists, the world will use it against you. Nietzsche went even further, warning us that no one is more hated than the one who tries to be good. They understood something you are feeling right now, that your kindness has become a leash. And suddenly, you're not living, you're obeying. Today, we dive into the dark mechanics of being too nice. We are going into the shadow Jung warned us about and the will to power Nietzsche exposed. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why your good heart is being used as a weapon and exactly how to reclaim your power without becoming cold or cruel. Stay until the end. This might be the most honest conversation you've ever had with yourself. Layer 1. The architecture of the prison. Your kindness does not always return to you as love. Sometimes, it returns as a hollow silence, as the cold sting of betrayal or the weight of humiliation. And no matter how much you try to deny it, the evidence is right in front of you. The softer you become, the harder life seems to strike. The more open your heart, the easier it is for others to step inside and begin rearranging your worth to suit their own convenience. It feels unfair, doesn't it? You strive to be patient, respectful, and gentle. But the world doesn't always see your kindness as a gift. It sees it as an invitation to push you, to use you, and to mold you into whatever they lack. Carl Jung taught us that every soul carries a shadow, a hidden reservoir of strength, anger, and the vital power of no. But when you deny that shadow, when you try to be nothing but light, the world senses your imbalance. And those who are not as kind as you will eventually use your missing side as a weapon against you. Here is the truth they never taught us. People don't hurt you because you are kind. They hurt you because you haven't learned how to defend your kindness. You were taught how to give, but not how to protect. You were taught how to forgive, but not how to confront. You were taught how to love, but never how to walk away. And slowly, your kindness becomes a silent contract that tells the world, I will not fight back. But let's look deeper. What you call kindness is often just fear wearing a mask. Fear of disappointment, fear of conflict, fear of standing alone in the dark, and the world can smell that fear like smoke in the air. This journey is not about turning you cold. It is about making you conscious. Because a heart without boundaries is not a sanctuary. It is a prison. Today, we decode why your goodness is being turned against you. We will learn to reclaim that kindness, sharpen it, and transform it into a force that protects you instead of destroying you. By the time we are done, kindness will no longer be your cage. It will be your power. Layer 2. The psychology behind kindness, exploitation. Jung's shadow theory. Carl Jung once wrote that what we refuse to see in ourselves becomes the very thing that controls us. And this is where kindness becomes dangerous. Most people believe they are kind because they choose to be. But many kind people are kind because they're terrified of their own shadow. Your shadow is the side of you that says, "No. That's enough. You can't treat me like this." It's the part of you capable of walking away. It's the part that demands respect. It's strength hidden beneath the softness. But if that side is buried, if you hide it because you fear conflict or rejection, your kindness becomes incomplete. It becomes one-sided. And anything one-sided in human psychology becomes unhealthy. Jung believed the world doesn't just react to who you are. It reacts to what you suppress. So when you suppress assertiveness, people sense it. When you suppress anger, people feel safe taking advantage. When you suppress boundaries, others decide where the line is drawn. Here is a hard truth. Many people you meet don't want a relationship with your kindness. They want a relationship with your silence. They aren't drawn to your love. They're drawn to the fact that you never fight back. Why does this happen? Because when the shadow is denied, a person becomes predictable, pliable, and easy to manipulate. And manipulation always needs one person willing to give more than they take. Think about this. If you never get angry, how will people know they hurt you? If you never say no, how will people know your limits? If you always forgive without asking for change, why would anyone grow? This is why so many kind people attract emotional predators, people who are not searching for love, but for control. And here's the paradox Jung exposed. You can only be truly kind after you integrate your shadow, after you meet the part of yourself that protects you. Only then does kindness become strength, not submission. So if the world has misused your gentle heart, it doesn't mean you are broken. It means part of you remains unseen, especially by you. And the moment you see it, the moment you acknowledge that hidden power, everything changes. Because a person who can say no gives yes more authentically. A person who can be strong loves without fear. And a person who knows their shadow cannot be controlled. Your kindness is not the problem. Your unexpressed shadow is. In the next part, we'll uncover the deeper emotional root behind this, why kind people secretly crave approval, and how that hidden need becomes the door through which others enter and take everything. It will make a lot of things suddenly make sense. Layer 3. The core weakness of good people. Most people think their kindness comes from love. But if you look deeper, honestly, without fear, you may find something else behind it, a silent hunger for approval. Kind people often grow up believing they must earn their place in the world. Maybe you learned that love appears only when you behave. Maybe you were taught that anger drives people away, so you swallowed it. Maybe every time you expressed a need, someone called you selfish. Slowly, without realizing, you began to shape your personality around acceptance. If people are happy with me, then I am safe. If I please them, they won't leave. This is why so many kind souls carry a secret fear, the fear of being disliked. And that fear creates the perfect environment for manipulation. Think about it. If saying no makes you anxious, people will learn to ask more. If disappointing others feels unbearable, you will compromise yourself to avoid it. If conflict terrifies you, you will tolerate disrespect to keep the peace. And predators, people who are emotionally hungry, insecure, or power-driven, can sense this instinctively. They look for people who want approval, not because they are evil, but because it's easy. Carl Jung understood this. He believed that the deepest wounds we carry come not from the world outside, but from the lies we tell ourselves. And here is one of the biggest lies kind people believe. I must be good for others to accept me. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if real love begins only when you stop performing? What if real acceptance appears only when you dare to be seen fully? Not just the gentle part, but the honest part. Your worth is not measured by how useful you are. Your value is not defined by how comfortable you make others feel. And your identity is not built from how many people approve of you. The greatest tragedy for kind people is spending their life trying to earn what they already deserve. So here is the uncomfortable question you must ask. Are you kind because you choose to be? Or because you're terrified of what happens if you stop? There is a difference between kindness and self-erasure, between love and self-sacrifice, between compassion and dependency. And the world will always take from the person who does not believe they have the right to receive. If you want proof, think of the last time you helped someone who never helped you back. Why did you stay? Why did you keep giving? Was it truly love, or the fear of losing connection? Until this need for approval is understood, kindness remains an addiction, a way to feel worthy, seen, and alive. But once you confront that need, kindness becomes a choice, not a prison. In the next part, we'll go deeper. Why do kind people repeatedly choose the wrong relationships? Why do they attract takers, narcissists, aggressive personalities, or cold hearts? The answer will reveal a pattern you've lived for years without realizing. Layer 4. Why kind people choose the wrong people. There is a painful pattern shared by people with good hearts. They don't just get hurt randomly. They are drawn to the same type of person over and over again. And it feels like a mystery at first. Why do gentle souls fall for the emotionally unavailable? Why do givers attract takers? Why do people who value honesty end up with liars? Why do those who love deeply meet partners who only love themselves? The pattern is not an accident. It is psychology. When you grow up believing you must earn love, you become attracted to people who make you work for it. Not because it feels good, but because it feels familiar. Human beings do not chase comfort. They chase what they know. If approval made you feel safe as a child, you will chase approval as an adult. If love felt unstable growing up, you will find unstable partners strangely exciting. If you learn that your needs don't matter, you will find comfort in those who ignore them. And here is the paradox. You experience disrespect as normal and true respect as uncomfortable. That is why kind people rarely fall in love with kindness. They fall in love with intensity, with emotional chaos, with people who mirror their wounds. Psychologists call this the repetition cycle. Your nervous system tries to recreate unfinished emotional stories, hoping this time it will end differently. You don't choose people by chance. You choose them because they match your unresolved history. And takers recognize this immediately. They can feel when someone is eager to give, when someone fears abandonment, when someone believes love must be earned. To someone with a predatory mindset, this feels like an open door. Not because you're weak, but because you desperately want connection and they desperately want control. So you end up giving too much, holding on too long, forgiving too quickly, and loving too deeply, in relationships that never loved you back. Nietzsche once said, "We repeat the same mistakes because somewhere inside us, we desire them." Pain that feels familiar is more attractive than peace that feels foreign. And until you understand this mechanism, you will confuse trauma with passion and kindness with sacrifice. But listen carefully. This pattern is not who you are. It's the story you inherited. And like every story, it can be rewritten. You are not destined to love people who harm you. You are simply used to it. And what you are used to feels safe, even when it hurts. The day you realize this truth, the entire map of your relationships changes. You stop chasing fire and start searching for warmth. You stop fighting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. You stop trying to rescue people and start respecting your own heart. And then, you finally discover, not everyone who wants your kindness deserves it. Before we move on, I want to ask you something real. Have you ever noticed this pattern in your own life? Falling for the same type of person, even when you knew they might hurt you? Share a piece of your story in the comments, not for attention, but because speaking the truth out loud is the first step toward breaking the cycle. Layer 5. The line between healthy kindness and self-destruction. Every act of kindness needs a backbone. Without boundaries, kindness becomes self-destruction. And you can't build a peaceful life on top of silent suffering. People imagine boundaries as walls, as something harsh or unfriendly. But boundaries are not weapons. They are instructions for how others should treat you. A boundary is simply saying, this is who I am, this is what I can give, and this is where it ends. Here's the truth most kind people never hear. You don't lose people when you set boundaries. You lose people who benefit from you not having any. Think back on moments when your kindness hurt you. Was the pain caused by what you gave, or because you gave without limit? Boundaries protect love from turning into obligation. They protect generosity from turning into exhaustion. They protect your heart from becoming a doormat. Without boundaries, relationships become unbalanced. One person gives, the other takes. One adapts, the other demands. One apologizes, the other blames. And eventually, you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself anymore. You start asking, why do I feel invisible? Why does no one care how I feel? Why am I always tired? Because when you constantly serve others, you forget to exist for yourself. Carl Jung understood this danger. He believed the soul collapses when the inner self is ignored in the name of peace. And Nietzsche warned, if you refuse to be a warrior for your own soul, you will become a servant to someone else's. Boundaries are not selfish. They are an act of self-love. They say, I respect myself enough to stay whole. And the moment you create boundaries, people who truly care will understand. Because love respects limits. Only manipulation does not. So, here is the challenge. Be kind, but be clear. Be generous, but be honest. Be loving, but never lose yourself. You deserve relationships that don't drain you. Ones that feel safe, equal, and peaceful. Your kindness should feel like warmth, not like a cage. If this message speaks to you, take a moment to subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and it tells me you want more depth, more truth, and more conversations like this. Thank you for being here. Layer 6. Nietzsche and the Will to Power. Why the world exploits the soft-hearted. Nietzsche believed that beneath every human interaction, there is a silent struggle for power. Not necessarily physical power, but emotional, social, psychological power. The power to be heard, the power to influence, the power to shape reality. When you look at life through that lens, a painful truth appears. Kind people often lose this struggle without even knowing a struggle exists. Why? because they enter relationships with love, not strategy, with trust, not suspicion, with vulnerability, not defense. Meanwhile, others enter the same relationship with a different intention: to lead, to control, to take, to dominate. Nietzsche called this the will to power, the internal force that drives humans to rise above others, to shape the world around them, to bend life in their direction. But many kind people reject their own will. They silence their needs to keep peace. They surrender their opinions to avoid conflict. They trade their voice for approval, and that surrender makes them targets. In a world where everyone is trying to survive, a person who gives without demand seems perfect for taking. A person who forgives without question seems perfect for using. A person who fears being alone seems perfect for controlling. This is not cruelty. It is human nature without consciousness. You may believe people hurt you because you are kind. Nietzsche would say, they hurt you because you refuse to participate in the natural balance of power. He believed the world respects strength, not aggression, but inner strength. Self-respect. The ability to say, I exist too. And here is something most kind souls never understand. You can be gentle and powerful at the same time. You can love without being controlled. You can give without being emptied. You can forgive without forgetting who you are. Nietzsche did not want people to become cruel. He wanted them to become conscious, because power without kindness becomes tyranny. But kindness without power becomes tragedy. So ask yourself, when was the last time you chose your own needs first? When did you protect yourself instead of pleasing others? When did you say, no, this is my boundary? The world cannot exploit a person who understands their own strength. Kindness backed by power becomes leadership. Kindness backed by boundaries becomes respect. Kindness backed by self-awareness becomes unbreakable. And at that moment, your kindness is no longer a weapon used against you. It becomes the reason you rise. Layer 7. How to stay loving without being hurt. Kindness isn't the problem. Blind kindness is. People think their choices are conscious, but most kindness happens automatically. We say yes before thinking. We forgive without reflecting. We give without measuring the cost. Conscious kindness is different. It is love with awareness, softness with intelligence, warmth with self-respect. It means you don't just ask, what does this person need from me? You also ask, what is the cost to myself? Conscious kindness protects you from becoming empty. It knows that you cannot pour from a broken cup. It understands that love without balance becomes submission. Here are 3 simple truths of conscious kindness. 1. You don't owe everyone access to you. Energy is not infinite, and not everyone deserves your time. 2. You are allowed to disappoint people. You are not here to manage other people's emotions. 3. Saying no is an act of respect for them and for you. When someone asks for too much, conscious kindness responds, I care about you, but I also care about myself. It doesn't shut out the world, but it filters it. It asks, does this person show gratitude? Do they also give? Do they listen? Do they respect my boundaries? Are they here for who I am or for what I provide? This is how kindness becomes healthy, not by becoming cold, not by building walls, but by choosing wisely. Because kindness offered to the wrong people becomes destruction. But the same kindness offered to the right people becomes medicine. This is not about loving less. It is about loving better. Kindness is powerful when directed correctly. It creates deep friendships, real intimacy, strong communities, and meaningful love. So don't stop being kind. Just stop being kind blindly. You deserve to give your heart to people who don't break it. You deserve peace, not exhaustion. You deserve love, not emotional debt. And here's the quiet truth. When you become conscious, you'll look back and wonder why you ever settled for pain. Layer 8. Turning kindness into strength. If you remember only one thing from this entire video, let it be this. Your kindness was never the weakness. Your lack of self-protection was. You now know the truth. Kindness without boundaries becomes sacrifice. Kindness without self-respect becomes surrender. Kindness without awareness becomes self-harm. A new identity begins when you take back control. When you recognize your shadow instead of denying it. When you choose relationships consciously instead of emotionally. When you stop chasing approval and start valuing truth. And here is the transformation. You stop trying to be liked. You start trying to be real. You stop apologizing for existing. You start standing where you belong. You stop giving to avoid loneliness. You start giving because you mean it. When kindness grows roots in self-worth, it becomes one of the strongest forces in human existence. It stops being a door for people to walk through and becomes a doorway for you to walk out of who you used to be. This is what Carl Jung meant when he spoke of integration. Light and shadow working together. And this is what Nietzsche meant by power. The courage to choose yourself. From now on, don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't break yourself to keep others whole. Don't soften your voice to protect fragile egos. If someone values you only when you are silent, your silence is the problem to fix, not your personality. You are allowed to be kind and unbendable, soft and unshakable, loving and powerful. And when you stand in that truth, nobody can use your heart against you ever again, because you will finally understand something most people never learn. Kindness without limits is self-betrayal. Kindness with limits is self-mastery. Invitation to watch the next video. If you want to protect your mind even deeper and avoid hidden manipulation, watch the next video on the channel. It will show you how people shape your thinking without you even noticing, and how to stop it before it controls your life. See you in the next video.